What are you gonna do?
Told you. We're gonna hang out. Gonna watch a movie. Gonna take some pictures.
What's up, guys? It's your boy, Benny. I like bourbon, and, well, it's getting cold, even here in Florida, and so I like having myself a little bourbon on my porch. I really don't drink a lot. I used to drink a ton. Was I an alcoholic? I don't know, but I do know some alcoholics who've gone to Alcoholics Anonymous, and one of the first step in the program is to admit that you have a problem. It's something that is a maxim as a human being. You must say it with your mouth. You have to think it in your brain and say it out of your mouth. I got an issue, in order to finally come to terms with that issue and to begin the path to improve yourself, which you should want to do. And maybe it's not alcohol. Maybe it's something else. Maybe, for instance, as Americans, we should come to the conclusion that we have a problem with our elections, that our elections are indeed broken. And much like the human spirit is fallible, our elections, when given no security and when given no capacity to have some type of overseeing of the process, can be corrupted by corruptible human beings. And that's how you get polls like this. 1 in 5 mail-in voters admit they cheated in 2020 election. Holy cannoli. I mean, this is just egregious. More than 20% of voters who used mail-in ballots in 2020 admit they participated in at least one form of fraud. A new national telephone and online survey by Rasmussen reports finds that 21% of likely voters who voted by absentee mail-in ballot in 2020 election, which was a ton of people voted by mail-in ballots. And this was the first election ever that mail-in ballots were mailed out to people, say that they either committed some type of fraud by voting in a state that they didn't live in, or voted on behalf of a friend, family member, or spouse, or a child. Wow. 30% of those surveyed said they voted absentee or mail-in ballot in 2020 election. 19% of those who cast mail-in ballots said that they did so for a friend. Furthermore, 70% said they cast ballot in a state where they no longer lived. Now, of course, I saw this myself living in Washington, D.C. that had a permanent mail-in ballots. Maybe your state does too. I got shipped 20 ballots. Why? I certainly didn't request them. They were just all of the people who had ever been voter registered at my house. DC is a very transient city. There'd been a lot of turnover. I owned the house, but I got mailed a bunch of people's ballots. Who the hell thinks it's responsible for me to have access to 20 people's ballots? I should not. I consider myself a somewhat responsible person, but I shouldn't have that kind of access. And luckily, finally, some people inside of the corporate media are saying so as well. Jesse Waters, who's been covering voter fraud on his program on Fox, has finally broken this news to his viewers that the systems that we have to vote in this country are absolutely backwards. Watch this.
Americans don't have a lot of confidence in our elections anymore. Hillary said her election was stolen. Trump said his election was stolen. And the FBI and the CIA have interfered in both. And who could forget Wanda? Our sweet, sweet Wanda, who's been caught bullying and ballot harvesting all over Bridgeport, Connecticut.
Wanda, why did you stuff the ballots? Wanda, there's surveillance video of you stuffing the ballots. Do you have anything to say?
The suspicion people have involve the mail-ins. As Jimmy Carter himself found, mail-in ballots are ripe for fraud. And the new survey about the last election suggests it's more widespread than we realized. A new Heartland Rasmussen poll finds that 17% of people admit they voted in a state where they don't live. 21% admitted they filled out someone else's ballot. And 8% admitted they were offered money to vote. Primetime just reported a case in Massachusetts where a candidate was driving voters to a polling precinct and then handing them cash after they voted for him. In Arizona, there were faulty voting machines in Maricopa County for Kari Lake's election, and allegations of delayed voting in Republican strongholds. We watched it with our own eyes. In Philly, poll observers claim they were held back. They couldn't see the ballots until the court stepped in. All of these shenanigans keep happening with Democrats. And now voters are confessing to pollsters there were shenanigans, all right. So how do we clean this up before the next election so we don't experience deja vu? Florida Secretary of State Corey Byrd has cleaned up his state system, and he joins us now. So how do we tighten this thing up?
Yeah, the best thing for states to do is follow Florida's lead. If you look at the 2020 election, we're the third largest state in the country, and we had results of what happened in Florida. We could predict or tell you who the winner was within 2.5 hours of the polls closing. But even though we had a great election in 2020, the state didn't rest on our laurels. Under Governor DeSantis' leadership, we banned ballot harvesting. We've banned drop boxes. We've banned Zuckerbucks. We've created the Office of Election Crimes and Security, where we are going after and prosecuting people for election fraud.
What about the fact that there's zillions of these mail-in ballots and they're just all over the ecosystem, and there's people going into nursing homes and apartment complexes? How do you allow people to vote by mail but also prevent the fraud?
Sure. So what we did in Florida is after the 2022 general election, all mail ballot requests were canceled in Florida. So anybody who now wants to vote in the 2024 election is going to have to send in a new request. So we don't have these legacy requests for people who've been on the books for years. They've all been canceled. So we're starting fresh and making sure that those people who are requesting a vote by mail ballot, that we're validating who they are. We've tightened up restrictions on what types of residences and places where those vote by mail ballots can be forwarded to. We've put in the deadlines of when those ballots have to be returned. So in other states, they only have to be postmarked by Election Day. In Florida, that vote by mail ballot has to be in by the time the polls close on Election Day, or it doesn't count.
Good. And I'm sure the Democrats are hysterical about it, which means, well, I think we know exactly what that means. Cord, thank you.
We want to give a huge shout out to Jesse Waters, who's been actually covering this issue effectively on his show. This takes a lot of bravery. It takes a lot of stones on Fox. Fox News, it was like anathema to talk about voter fraud or mass voter fraud, even though it's actually happening in Massachusetts, for instance, or in Connecticut, where they're throwing out elections based on voter fraud. In Massachusetts, a woman said that somebody voted, stole her ballot, and then voted for her. She showed up on Election Day, and well, this is what mass voter fraud looks like.
Waiting for elections officials to decide whether her in-person vote will count or the mail-in, which she says has her signature forged.
How come it's not going to be counted if I'm voting right in front of you and I'm telling you that that vote that you have there is not mine?
Hold on. So this lady, black lady, I thought we were against black woman disenfranchisement, right? I thought Republicans were going to steal them out from black people. Well, there's a black lady who had her vote stolen from her. Why am I the only person that is defending this woman? I am the only person. I don't see Stacey Abrams marching through her town saying that this woman, who is a victim of voter fraud, Democrat-run voter fraud, deserves to have a march on her behalf and deserves to have her vote counted. Here's your perfect example of somebody being disenfranchised from a historically disenfranchised group, whatever. If you want to accept that framing, go for it, because this is it. Here she is saying, "You stole my vote," and nothing's happening. Somebody just gets to steal it out of my mailbox and vote, and that's not my signature. Good job, Democrats. Here, speaking of stealing votes, here's Wanda. This is Wanda in Connecticut with a garbage bag full of mail-in ballots. Where'd you get those? Where'd you get those, Wanda? Shoving them into the drop box, doing a lap, and then coming right back for that sweet drop one more time. Then she does another lap, then she does another lap, and she then goes to work. She works inside the government buildings in the county, and then continues to elicit more ballots and drop more fraudulent ballots into the drop box. When is Wanda going to be criminally charged? Well, thank God, like, a person actually watched this and did something about it. Jesse Waters sent a reporter up to Wanda's house to ask her some questions. It didn't go great. Watch.
So it's up to us to shine a light on corruption. That's why we sent Johnny to see Wanda.
How's it going? Johnny from Fox, how are you? How are you? Nice to see you. Wanda, why did you stuff the ballots? Wanda? Why did you stuff the ballots? Wanda, there's surveillance and video of you stuffing the ballots. Do you have anything to say? Wanda? Wanda, what do you want to say to the people of Bridgeport?
So Wanda pled the fifth, just like she did in court. We're not letting this go.
Ladies and gentlemen, voter fraud is a massive issue in our country. You notice the two states that I just talked about are blue states, but there are plenty of voter fraud in red states. There's voter fraud everywhere. There's a whole database of voter fraud, and there's voter fraud happening in every single state. It's wrong. It's unconstitutional. It's a felony. And we need to start taking it seriously. Unless we can actually admit we have a problem, we'll never be able to fix it. And so that's what I wish to do on this program. We're going to keep talking about this issue. We're not going to be scared away from it. It's not going to be something that we're going to have a phobia of, or it's going to be taboo for us. No. This is how you fix problems. You take them head on. It's your boy Benny. Like, share, and subscribe. See ya.